Hey Grinder School, welcome back. Now, this will be the first ever time I'm doing this, and if it works out, then I will continue to do it. But this is going to be a combination podcast slash Grinder School video at the same time. If it works out, I'm going to be doing it again in the future. If it doesn't, then you know what? I don't. It's as simple as that. Today I'm going to be answering a question. And the question I was asked a couple weeks ago was this. So when I connect with two pairs, and I consider that, well, with X hand, could be two pairs, could be a set, could be a pair, on the flop versus an unknown, should I consider raising most of the time when we're facing a donk bet? All right. And here was my answer, and I'm going to explain my answer more in depth on this occasion. Well, you should consider it all of the time. All right. You should always consider raising. Now, whether or not you should raise is what we're going to find out here today. And so we're going to be using 5 factors. We're going to be using donk bet size. We're going to be using stack sizes, opponent reads, hand strength, and board texture. And we're going to do something cooler. We're going to be doing that in this order. Now, for those of you listening to the podcast right now, this is essentially going to be one of our Grinder School short videos. So if you want to sign up for Grinder School and see this video, you're more than welcome to. And you're going to see other videos just like this. Today I'm using the notepad to help me out. So if I want to type in, I can type in relatively quickly without having to worry about it. For those of you watching the video version, you're more than welcome to listen to this in your car, iPhone, iPad, whatever you use to listen to podcasts with, and listen to the rest of the podcast to go with it, or whatever. It doesn't really matter to me, but let's go ahead and get through this starting right now. So the first thing I'm going to be going over, donk bet size. Now, very clearly, I have 3 instances of pot size. All right, so first off, setting the stage, we've raised pre-flop. Doesn't really matter what hand we have. We flop X hand. Essentially, for the example, for this example, we're going to use 2 pairs for right now. We flop 2 pair versus an unknown, and then an unknown player decides to bet out. Well, if he bets out full pot or larger, all right, I will likely be calling just off of just consideration. If somebody asks me, all right, well, if somebody bets out full pot and you have 2 pair, what do you do? Well, I'll probably call, but now that can change based on what we're going to see in the next 4 or 3 or 4 options as well. But right now, my standard play would be the call. All right. If it's a half pot or smaller bet size, then I'm going to be raising. Now, the argument for raising would be we raise for bluffs, right? Remember, a lot of the time I talk about when to raise as a bluff facing a donk bet, right? So when somebody donks bet 1 big blind into us, we raise it up to 4, 5, maybe even up to 6 big blinds, all right, depending on the pot size. If somebody donk bets 2 big blinds into us, then we're going to raise it up to 8x a big blind, all right? When somebody donk bets 3x into us, we're going to raise it up to possibly 10 big blinds, right? And if somebody donk bets us 4x, we can raise it up to 12 to 14 big blinds. All right, it's just a standard situation for me. If somebody donk bets into me 1, 2, 3, or 4x big blinds, then I'm going to go ahead and raise it. It doesn't matter what I have as a bluff. Well, I'm talking about for a bluff. If I have like a weak value hand, then I'm going to be playing it very similar to how I'm going to be talking about this right here. But as a bluff, I'm raising this amount. And you know what? When the pot is, all right, when the pot is what? We raise 4x pre-flop, right? And we get a caller and plus a big blind. When the pot is equal to like 8 to 9 big blinds, all right, a 4x bet size is essentially half the pot. So it works out the same. So when somebody leads into a half pot, a lot of the times you're raising as a bluff anyway when you don't have anything. The reason why I changed it from big blinds here to pot size is because a lot of the times now, a lot of poker sites, they have the little bet buttons, quarter pot, half pot, third pot, or whatever. People like to push those buttons instead rather than using the little clicker to go up 1 big blind. Poker Stars, they still use the 1 big blind. Some of the other ones, Merge, I believe they have the little half pot buttons. I know Full Tilt used to. There's going to be several sites here that have the bet pot buttons or half pot button. All right. So when the pot is 8 to 9 big blinds, the 4x big blind donk bet is roughly a half pot, right? So we're going to be raising that as a bluff. We should certainly be raising that for value. Now, when somebody bets in between the half pot and full pot bet sizes, where it's, it could be a raise, could be a call, well, that's when we're going to go on to, our next criteria. All right. Well, and honestly, you guys, just because I say number 2 here, going on the stack sizes, you can essentially do that with any of the above next criteria. All right, so you start with the donk bet size, and we're going to go right to stack sizes right here. But if you guys want to go on to the opponent reads instead, let's consider it, the donk bet size as option A. All right, well, any of the remaining could be option Bs, and you can always use these criteria, I personally feel, almost interchangeably. So let's go ahead and right into stack sizes. So in between half pot and full pot bet sizes, if somebody has an 80 big blinds or more stack, chances are we're going to be calling. All right, on average, somebody's saying, well, somebody donks Minity like this, he's got a large stack size. What are you going to be doing? I'll probably be calling. Now, granted, these could change, right? Let's say you're coming from the opponent reads, right? If you have an opponent read that your opponent's a donk, then, we wouldn't go to the stack sizes first. We use the opponent reads first. But here's the thing. Our opponent read right now is an unknown. So as an unknown who leads between half pot and full pot as a donk bet, I'm going to be calling more often than not. All right. If they have 30 big blinds or less, well, I'm probably going to be going all in. It's as simple as that. All right. Raising 3 or 4x pre-flop, plus the 3 big blinds he's got left there. He's only got probably around 25 big blinds to go. You've got 2 pair. All right, you're not going to be folding a later street because once you call and your opponent puts another bet in, you guys are both pot committed. Just go ahead and get it in now. If just go. I usually would just over jam it, and just raise it all in. Don't even try mess around trying to raising half of his stack or whatever, because whenever you do that, you're automatically considering going all in anyway. So just go all in. Now, when it's between 30 big blinds and 80 big blinds, then that's where the real tough problem comes in. We're going to go on to the next criteria here. I'm going to use opponent reads, but if you want to go on to one of the other 2 criterias, then by all means do that. All right, so we're going to go on to opponent reads. Now, if we have an opponent read that, say, he's a tight opponent, he's a regular, he's a good player, all right, chances are he's going to be either balanced or he's going to have somewhat of a clue what's going on. We're going to be calling. We're going to call as a deception method. We're going to call for value. And honestly, we're calling because we don't really know. We don't really like our other options. We don't really know where he's at in his hand. He could be doing anything. He could be doing with a set. He could be doing with air. But if his range is only sets and air, the last thing we want to do is raise him with 2 pair. It could be anything. All right, we just don't want to give away the hand strength of the strength of our hand right away before we really know. No, we're still planning on getting 3 suits of value from him, but probably not 4. Now, on the other side of that, all right, if your opponent is loose, aggressive, really bad, right, a maniac, then we're probably going to be raising. All right, because when you're playing against a bad opponent, all right, he's going to be expecting you to bluff all the time. He's not really thinking about what kind of hands you're going to have for value there. So your 2 pair is going to be very, very strong against that bad opponent, and you're going to be trying to get value. But here's the thing, right? So this whole topic has been about what happens when an unknown player bets into you, right? So this opponent reads thing, I wanted to throw out relatively early in case you guys do have it, because this lecture can also be gone through what happens when somebody leads into you, not just what happens when an unknown player leads into you. So I'm trying to maybe broaden the example a little bit. But if we have an unknown opponent, or if someone who's actually relatively passive and he leads out a strong bet size, right, that usually is going to mean something. So we're going to go on to the next criteria. And personally, I'm going to use hand strength. And now you guys could perhaps use that. Give you guys a free one. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys this one now. I mean, you guys could have gone to this right after the donk bet size. Maybe donk bet size to hand strength to you makes more personal sense. And if that's the case, go for it. But I feel like if you go right into hand strength from donk bet size, you're going to miss some important pieces of information. Usually stack sizes, in my opinion, and then opponent reads, and then stack sizes, and then I'm sorry, then hand strength, then board texture. But how you guys want to organize this, it's all kind of relative. As long as you're keeping, you're keeping track of the information here, and it makes it easier on you to digest this information. Then it's going to work out for you. All right, so here we go. We're going to have hand strength. In my opinion, if we have a setter better, more often than not facing a donk bet, we should raise. All right, because honestly, that's going to be the nuts most of the time. And if our opponent's going to have a better hand than that, so be it. We're not worried about that. What we do want to have happen, though, we want to make sure we can get stacks in the middle. And so if somebody asks me, well, what happens if you have a set and somebody donk bets into you, even though you don't know what kind of player he is? All right, most of the time I'm just going to say raise. That's, it's kind of standard play. When you have a set, if somebody bets into you on the flop, I'm going to raise. It's kind of like second nature to me. Now, if you have top pair or worse, all right, and somebody leads into you for half pot, a full pot size, my standard play is going to be call. I'm probably not going to be raising top pair, regardless of the kicker, against an unknown opponent. You know what I mean? I might fold if I have like bottom pair, middle pair I might call with. Right? I'm not folding anything top pair though to one bet on the flop. Now, here's the problem with the question, right? All right, well, we're talking about two pair here. This whole lecture was supposed to be about two pair, right? You keep going into this, your reads and your hand strength. We're talking about unknowns against two pairs. Well, two pairs is still kind of a tricky thing here because bottom two pair is necessarily as strong as top pair, and essentially it all boils down to board texture. I know it took me 12 minutes to get here, but I'm at the crux of it here. Board texture. If it's a draw heavy board, and all the other things I've told you to come here, we still don't know what we're doing, go ahead and raise the two pair. I'll go ahead and say it. Raise the two pair. We don't want to give our opponent free cards. We want our opponent to be pricing himself into a draw. The last thing we want to have happen is a scary card to come off on the next street, and we lose value, or we have to make a tough fold. So we don't go ahead and raise, and call it a day. And you know what? Honestly, if you've gotten this far and you still don't know what to do, then chances are it's not going to be a big plus or minus EV decision in your favor or not. So you probably can't make a wrong play at this point if you've gotten this far. Now, what if it's a dry board? Okay, what if the board's like, as the example given to me was Queen 8-7 Rainbow, which isn't necessarily dry. It's not necessarily draw heavy either. Yeah, there's an open-end straight draw out there, but there's not very many. There's a lot of like gut shot draws that can come in on the next street, but not necessarily something that we need to be too worried about. So if somebody bets a rather large amount on a Queen 8-7 Rainbow board, and we've got two pair, I mean, with a bet size between between half pot and full pot, so let's say consider 3/4 bet size, I'm probably not going to be raising the flop. I'm not going to be folding, but I probably will be raising the flop. And the thing is, we'll call and we'll see a turn. If the turn brings a brick, right? Let's say like the random two, the offsuit two, or even doesn't matter what kind of two. So the board's Queen 8-7 deuce, all right, and he leads into you again for 3/4 of the pot. I mean, it's going to be depending on the stack size, but if he's got a full stack, I probably still won't be folding because you know what? He's probably not going to be calling me with too much of a better hand at this point. So we'll go ahead and call. Now, if the board comes in a nice draw, I'm definitely not going to be raising if the draw comes in because what happens is you're turning your two pair into a draw, or you turn your two pair into whatever hand the draw coming in represents, and then you're overvaluing your two pair. All right. But at the same time, I don't think I would ever consider folding my two pair on the turn, even facing two donk bets. So hopefully, you guys, I've gone through this at length, talked about how to play top or two pair against an opponent who's leading into you. So you have 5 criteria here. You're gonna have donk bet size. You're gonna have stack sizes. You're gonna have opponent reads, you're going to have hand strength, you're going to have board texture. Now, whether or not, all right, board texture is more important or less important than stack sizes, all right, or if opponent reads is more important than stack sizes, or hand strength is more important than everything, all right. These are the criteria that you take. How you decide which ones to use in your favor, honestly, is up to you. but I feel like these are the top 5 things to realize about. I gave you the 5 that I would like to see you use in tandem. Sometimes, I'm never going to say always or never in the situation. Sometimes I consider, all right, hand strength to be more important than stack sizes, all right, and then other times though I consider reads important than hand strength too, because honestly, against a bad player, top pair is the nuts. Against a nit, all right, you almost need a set in order for you to raise. These are all things that you got to be taking factor of whenever you're playing. But it's almost like a mental checklist in your head. Whenever you're playing, you're going through the same mental lists at all times. And I mean, you're just constantly doing, and after a while, you get used to it to the point of, all right, well, this guy's got this stack size. He's betting on this much. My read on him is this. My hand strength is this. Board texture is this. I mean, and you have a standard play, and it's not even that difficult as long as you have the list here and some experience that you have. So, all right, guys, this has been CodeRed Rules. We'll go ahead and take a break right now. We've got a segment from Nakamura coming up, a Grinder School instructor. So don't go away. For those of you who've watched this as a Grinder School video short, let me know what you guys think on the forum. For those of you listening to it as a podcast, hey, sign up to grinderschool.com. Watch this video. Watch this or listen to this podcast as well as other videos. We've got over 1,000 videos in Grinder School. Go ahead and sign up. Let me know what you think. All right. And I might do this more in the future. I might not. It's really gonna be up to you guys. We like to listen to our subscribers. We listen to their feedback. We give them what they want, and it's a very beneficial relationship both ways. So all right, guys, that's gonna be it for me. But stay tuned for Nakamura. We'll be right back.